Hi church, how you doing? Hope you're doing okay today. And today is the 1st of August, and I hope you have seen our awesome August calendar that we've put out, because while obviously we don't want to be in lockdown for another month, but let's make use of it. Let's continue to be all that God wants us to be. And so I hope the calendar, which is available on the website, or you should have got an email, it's on social media, it'll inspire you to do some things for those in your family, your neighborhood. Let's reach out, let's be loving people, and let's intentionally be pressing into God. Matthew 5, Jesus says to us, "You are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven." That's what we want to do this month, church. We want to let our light shine before others, that they may see our good deeds and therefore glorify our Father in heaven. So let's press into that, church. And now we've got another great message as we continue through Nehemiah that Ola's bringing to us. Enjoy. Thanks.
Hello, good morning. How are you? Hope you're doing well and hope you're keeping safe. I know it's a very tricky and difficult time for us as we're in lockdown, but if you do need help, please do reach out to friends and family in the way possible that is appropriate within the restriction, and we will want to pray with you and support each other to in this time that we find ourselves. And as a church, we've been going through the book of Nehemiah, and today I want to just spend a few moments reflecting on Nehemiah chapter 6 and 7. I wouldn't be able to read through the entire passage, but I do hope that after this reflection, maybe you've read it already, but after this reflection, it might be a good thing for you to actually read the entire chapter 6 and chapter 7, and then be able to allow yourself to reflect through that, and maybe use this reflection I'm sharing today as a guide for your own reflection. Nehemiah is a fascinating book, and he set out, as you would know, to build the walls of Jerusalem. And the people of Judah and Israel have been dispersed and exiled, and they now have come back. But then they're not a people yet. The wall has not been built, and so it lays in ruin. He was saddened by that, and it was through his various interactions with the king at the time, he was able to leave and go and rebuild the wall of Jerusalem. Now the wall is already getting built. That the world is getting to a really good place when we get to chapter 6, but still more work to be done. And he began to face tremendous opposition. There were these three guys called Sambalat, Tobiah, and Goshen. These guys were opposed to the building of the wall for whatever reason. Probably have an interest in the wall not being built, but they were opposed to him. And there is something to be said about Nehemiah's tremendous focus. He was absolutely, exceptionally focused on seeing the work done. There is something to be said about the fact that despite all the negativity and naysayers and all of the a sort of negativity thrown at him, he was able to lead the people, guide them towards fulfilling the task of rebuilding the wall. That is something remarkable there. But that's not what I want to talk about today. But before I go to what I want to talk about today, there is actually also something to be said about Nehemiah's strategic prowess. I mean, read through Nehemiah 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way to 13. This guy was tremendously strategic in the way he organized the people, guide them, and there's something to be said about that. But that's not what I want to focus on as well, because I want to draw attention to something else, and that is the question: why was the wall, building that wall, why was it important to Nehemiah? Because in chapter 6, verse 1, I read verse 1 to 4, that it says, "When Sanballat, Tobiah, and Geshem the Arab, and the rest of the enemies heard that I had rebuilt the wall, and no breach remained in it, even though up to that time I had not positioned the doors and the gates, Sanballat and Geshem sent word me saying, 'Come on, Let's sit up and have a time to meet together at Keprim in the plain of Ono. Now they intended to do me harm. Nehemiah speaking. I sent my messengers to them saying, I am engaged in an important work. I am unable to come down. Why should I come down to halt when I leave it to come down to you? They did that 4 times, and the 5th time they sent different words. But Nehemiah was focused on completing the task of building the wall. And the question is, why is the wall so important to him? Now we get clues and answers in there as we read, when we get to chapter 7, verse 73, towards the end of that chapter. In fact, the very last verse in chapter 7, verse 73, it says this: the priest, the Levite, the gatekeepers, the singers, some of the people, the temple servants, and all the rest of Israel lived in their cities. It's tremendous. And as you read the rest of Nehemiah, you begin to get a sense of one word that I really want to draw attention to, and it's the word restoration. Restoration. In rebuilding the wall of Jerusalem, Jeremiah embarked on restoring the people back to a place, restoring them as a people together, restoring a sense of justice. You read in chapter 5. It shows a sense of joy you see in chapters 8 and 9 and 10. It restores a sense of worship. He restored the people. The wall is about restoring people back to a place they could call home. Because the people now are restored to the land and also to each other, but also to God. And that restoration is a very powerful testimony of God's work in the life of the people. In fact, when you get to chapter 6, verse 15, it says, so the wall was completed in the 25th day of Hilo, in just 52 days. Remarkable. When all our enemies heard and all the nations who were around us saw this, they were greatly disheartened. They knew that this work had been accomplished with the help of our God. Nehemiah set out to build a wall, but the wall is really about restoration. Yes, it provides security, but it's about restoring the people to a place that they can call home. Everyone needs a place to call home. Now, some of us have moved to Australia because we call Australia home. Here we find a place to call home. Maybe you've been here for a long time. You're probably Australian, long-time Australians. Wherever you are here in this reflection this morning around the world, we all want to call a place home. We all need a place to call home. For Nehemiah, it was about restoring the people to a place, but restoring the people to each other. You read chapter 7, you talk about this descendant of this and descendant of that and descendants of this and descendants of that. The people were counted. They were counted to belong. I mean, the census in Australia is going to be this month. This August is the census month. And really, all of us in Australia, most of us will be counted to belong. We all need a place to call home. But if you look around the nations today and around the world, several people do not have a place to call home. There are a lot of people who are displaced for whatever reason, forcefully or whatever reason. I mean, Turkey, the nation of Turkey alone, has close to 4 million displaced people from Syria. 4 million. And 4 million is the number of a whole nation. Just think about that for a moment. I mean, to have 4 million people displaced. We all need a place to call home. I mean, recently we see some of the ugly and sad scenes in South Africa when a nation gets the fringe of it, the fringe of being displaced, of people being displaced. But we also see the remarkable thing that can happen when the churches come together and Christian leaders come together and people of good conscience comes together to see the nation restored. Of course, there is still more work to be done in South Africa as a nation, but we can see when the churches had to pray and the people got out and good people of good conscience got out to clean the streets and to get things back together again, because they know this is our place. That's their place, and that's the place they call home. But we have nations around the world, Myanmar and a whole lot of other places, maybe even Afghanistan. You name it, you just need to do a little bit of Googling around, and you will see the number of people who are displaced. But everybody needs a place to call home. For Nehemiah and the children of Israel, the building of the wall is about the fact that they now have a place. The people counted in. He talks about the priests and the Levite and the gatekeepers and the singers. Is the restoration of joy to a place. As a church, our vision is to be shaped by God, to shape neighborhoods and the nations. Imagine if we dedicate today, this Sunday, to pray and commit ourselves, to be thinking about what it means for us to be shaped by God, to shape the nations. I think part of that will also have to be about restoration. Imagine if we have this dogged mindedness of Nehemiah type focus and commitment and consistency in the face of all odds to see the world rebuilt and to see people restored and to see nations restored. Imagine if we, as a local community of the church, commit ourselves to see this as a reality. Imagine what is possible. Just imagine that. Imagine what is possible. Imagine that. Imagine that. Let me leave this thought with you as I think about that. Maybe today you want to, take a moment and think about what you could do to be part of that process of seeing people have a place they can call home. Maybe you want to reach out to some reputable agencies around the world who are doing this work already, and you could just give a one-time gift. Maybe you want to pray about that. It's just praying for nations. Maybe you want to reach out to someone from one of these nations and just pray with them. Maybe even have a chat with them over Zoom, at least. Because the restrictions we have now over Zoom or whatever, they just say, tell me more about this. Maybe you're already doing this already. Maybe you want to share what you're doing in seeing nations and people who have no place find a place they can call home. Because everyone needs a place to call home. And for Nehemiah in chapter 6 and 7, the rest of the chapter, for the whole of the book, what we see is a restoration of people. A restoration of people to a place, to each other, and to God. And that is an amazing thing. Imagine if we can see that happen in our world for many, many millions and millions of people for whom this is not a reality today. Let me leave you with a prayer in Psalm 67. It's a beautiful prayer which I encourage you to also read and pray about, perhaps, and think about what God may lay in your heart to do in this sense of helping people find a place to call home. Whatever the Lord lays on your heart, but I'm sure to be ethical, but just pray about that and then consider what that might look like. And Psalm 67 says, may God show us his favor and bless us. May he smile on us. Then those living on earth will know what you are like. All the nations will know how you deliver your people. Let the nations thank you, O God. Another translation says, let the nations praise you, O God. Let all the nations thank you. Let foreigners rejoice and celebrate. For you execute justice among the nations and govern the people living on the earth. Let the nations thank you, O God. Let the nations thank you. The earth yields its crop. May God our God bless us may God bless us. Then all the hands of the earth will give honor he deserves. I pray you consider that this weekend and this Sunday. What's God laying on your heart to be a part of that work, a commitment to see people who are displaced find a place to call home? Because everybody needs a place to call home. Have a good Sunday. God bless you.